As AI makes billing faster and easier, it also makes it easier for bad guys to target practices and their revenue cycle. My guest today works extensively in RCM and implements AI in RCM, and he's going to open our eyes to some parts of the dark side and how you can fight back. I'm Carl White, principal at Market Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. It's usually what they want, but care is better when it's the providers of care who also own the practice, because any decision that's got to get made, business, clinical, whatever it is, you can just feel pretty confident that the people who are making business decisions have to turn around and take care of patients at the same time, so they're never going to forget that patient care has to come first. My guest today, my returning guest, is Vinny Sankaran. Vinny brings over 15 years of experience in operations, financial analysis, strategy growth, corporate development, strategic planning, and marketing. At MBWRCM, he's involved in applying his experience to optimize revenue cycle process flows to improve their clients' profitability and performance. Vinny, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
All right. Good, good. I know we have an interesting topic today.
We really do.
Weaponization
About
of AI. Yeah, it
how
sounds
bad
really
guys can be
scary.
bad. Yes, and what you can do.
That is pretty much it, right? So a lot of
Are you going to
tools,
scare us? Like you're going to tell us like, oh my God,
a
stuff.
little, a
A
little,
little.
a
Okay.
little. But it's not only AI, right? So let's moving back before we jump into the
Yeah, a
topic.
little bit. So you've had a number of episodes. I kind of want to stay true to the form. In case anybody
Sure.
hasn't listened to a prior episode of yours, that was a super brief bio. Just fill in a couple of, bit more about your background,
Sure.
what you've been doing with AI, et cetera. So we can, and then we'll get into the heart
Absolutely.
of how bad guys could be bad.
Perfect, perfect. So yes, my name is Vinny Sankaran, and I am the CEO and founder of MBWRCM, a revenue cycle management company. We work with practices across the country, in some hospitals, some smaller hospitals, and anybody who needs revenue cycle, we've kind of helped them if they want to
Mhm.
scale. And that's what I've been doing for almost 16 years now. I do sit on two boards. One is HBMA, Healthcare Billing Management Association. The
Mhm.
other one is NSCHBC, that is mostly for healthcare consultants.
Mhm.
So I get access to a lot of different kinds of people in the practice space who are helping practices with different things. Some are with RCM, some with taxes, some like Carl with marketing,
Mhm.
staffing, pretty much anything
Everything. The
practice
whole the
needs,
whole org
mostly.
chart. Yep, the whole org chart.
Pretty
Yep.
much, right?
Okay.
So we see different things, and at the same time, I also see different kind of vendors. I mean, to vendors, we do meet people who are trying to automate a lot of things. Let's talk about RCM now with AI. Some are more algorithms with rule-based engines, so they're not smart, meaning they don't evolve and get better over time. Some
Mhm.
are more AI, so they learn and they get better over time. So anything that you have new technology, it helps you be more efficient, hopefully
Yep.
saves time and money. But the same thing can be used by bad actors
Yep.
to do something, notorious, nefarious. Same with like crypto. Crypto came as an option. You know how everybody in the dark
Yeah.
web is using crypto to get
Yeah.
paid, so it's not
Yeah.
traceable. So
Yeah.
anytime there's something, they always figure out a
Bad
loophole. That's
guys will
how
figure
people
out a way to use it for bad purposes. Yeah, and listeners, I'll
exactly.
tell you, Vinny is he's definitely forward thinking when it comes to AI, when it comes to RCM, putting the two together. He's constantly tinkering, testing, experimenting. How can we make this better? How can we make it work? It's true. Tomorrow, all of our knowledge of AI could be rendered, irrelevant by some new development. But until that point, um, Vinny's probably, on the forward edge of bringing AI into daily life, into daily business life, into RCM. And so um, I'm I shudder to think at some of the things you're going to tell us that scare us because you've probably seen it. So
Correct.
the
I'm
floor
part
is
of
yours. We've
it.
got
I've
topics
seen it.
about phishing and fraud,
Perfect.
cybersecurity. I want you to go where you want to go. I don't want to guide this too much because,
Let's start with the same. We'll
okay,
start
yeah,
with fishing. So let's
good.
talk about the good parts for like literally 10 seconds, and then we'll go to the
Yeah,
bad parts. So
okay.
where is AI used with RCM and practices, right? So AI can be used just for automating the front end part, right?
Mhm.
Calling your patients, it could be text reminders, it could be to make appointments, anything to, because getting front office people is tough. AI can help a lot of those front end stuff and also the back end stuff, following up with patient, getting them. So that's
Sure.
the good part. Similarly, for revenue cycle, it can be used for autonomous coding, There are AI voice that we use to actually call insurance company, follow up, and there are AI predictive models that show you and track your denials and pattern recognition. Also, which patients is more likely to pay when, so you can coordinate with them. So there are a lot of good things about it. It's all
Wow.
evolving as we speak, and it's getting better. So that's the good part, which is what we focus on as a
Yes.
company. Now
Yes.
let's talk about the bad parts. Like
Yeah.
you said, let's talk about the first one, which is phishing and fraud. But we are talking about AI-driven phishing and fraud. So let me give you a couple of examples, right? Everybody knows those emails that comes from a Nigerian prince, 15 years ago, right? Those don't
Desperately
mean
need your
anything
help.
today.
Yes. Yes.
Correct. So that
Yes.
doesn't mean anything. And you've seen the phishing emails get better. Now,
Mhm.
what AI is helping you do in the LLMs, the large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, hackers are using LLMs to scrape through public data and also your previous email threads. Let's say they found an email that you sent to somebody, uh, and they can get that, and they do something called spear phishing, which is they mimic exactly the tone of your email. So Carl sends me a lot of emails. I know how you write an email. You know how I
Yeah.
write an email.
Yeah.
Once I see enough of it, I might not be able to do it, but the AI knows enough that it mimics your tone. Now it looks like if I don't focus, it looks like that email is coming from Carl or from the doctor or from your CFO. And that is hyper personalization of phishing emails. And it's really, really tough to see unless you really look. And I've got a bunch of these emails. I've got it from the president of NSC from HPMA, from a couple of our clients, and that is one. The other thing I've seen is same logic, business emails, right?
Mhm.
So bad actors are using emails to monitor same thing, your email patterns. And let's say you're sending out invoice to a client, they take the same invoice and they send it and they make a slight change in your bank account. And
Mhm.
if you don't check it,
And who would think to
so
check it? I mean, it's just, yeah.
yeah, no, especially if it changes, right? And we have actually had that once. We got an email from our client saying, "It looks like you changed your bank account. Is it true?" I'm like, "Thank you for letting me know." And I actually called them and I spoke to them and said, "No, that's not true.
Mm.
It was your email was compromised and it happened." So that examples, at least one or two that I have seen of. And we also encourage our clients and our team also have a limit based on your size.
Mhm.
$10,000, 15,000, 50,000, whatever the limit is, anything over that. And if it's not a common invoice, please not only get an email confirmation, but also
Mhm.
call the number that you know
Mhm.
and
Make sure it's
confirm with a live
true.
person. And we'll come to that and we'll scare you with the voice piece in the next second, but at least do these things.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is AI voice that we use you know, for calling insurance companies, for patients. You can create AI avatar voices that sounds really human, but they can be. So if I have enough of your audio, Carl, I
Mhm.
can create a voice that sounds exactly like you.
Hmm.
And that's really
Yeah.
scary,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's been one or two incidents that happened in China and Hong Kong that they had a group meeting in Zoom and the other person's photo was there. So right now you're me on video,
But it wasn't
and that
them.
was spoof. That was not them. That was not their voice. That was AI, and a lot of money was stolen. So there have been a couple of articles like that. It's not as common as we think, thank God. But we can do as much as we can to double check because this is evolving and changing so fast. It's kind of scary.
So this is like, we're talking about AI bad guys in RCM, but this is anything. I mean,
Yes,
this is
yes.
just sort of the limits of the imagination of the bad guy.
It could happen in any industry. We're
Yeah.
just focusing on practices in RCM right now, but yes, it can
Yeah.
be a financial organization, it could be a manufacturing organization, it could be anybody,
Wow.
right? It could be
That's
small,
great.
big.
Are
Yeah.
you real right
Yeah.
now? I think you are.
Y-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the wave.
Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
how do I know?
You count the
Listeners, he
number of
just waved to
fingers.
me with a big
You
smile
come
saying, yeah,
count
look,
the
it's
number of
me.
fingers. If you have
Five fingers. But
six,
yeah,
it
right.
might be an
Well,
issue.
right. You need a mistake, but if you can't
Yeah,
see
that is
that, like,
true.
how do you know? Oh,
It is getting tougher. It is getting
too early
tougher.
to drink
Uh,
something. Okay, so keep going. So
Correct. Just
yeah.
one other example of fraud, but there are a lot of
Hmm.
options for phishing and fraud. Just one other one is because we're talking about RCM,
Hmm.
generative AI can actually synthesize a believable clinical documentation with patient history and make a fraudulent claim. So there've been a lot of fraud, right? In Medicare fraud and, other commercial
Hmm.
frauds, but AI can actually make it look so real that they might be able to steal millions of dollars before they actually find out that it's stolen. It could be from Medicare, it could be from,
And one thing you have to believe
yeah.
about, AI theft versus human theft is maybe AI theft goes even faster. And so, it just seems like the authorities and the law enforcement efforts to find the fraud and prosecute it go a lot slower. And that's not a criticism. That's the process. Maybe it could go faster, but um, than the bad guys who were doing it. Man, oh man.
Yeah. So a
Okay.
couple of examples of phishing. So the only thing I could say is, at least be aware of what is out there and take a few extra steps. Like in our phone, right? We have Google Authenticator, for example, right? We have a
Yeah.
one-time password coming in.
Yeah.
So always having two or
Two
three
factor.
levels
Yeah.
of, two-factor kind, right? And even two-factor, there are ways that people can hack into your phone. Not so easy, but it's
Yeah.
there. So an authenticator like a Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, where the numbers change every 30 seconds to
Yeah.
45 seconds is a
Yeah.
much better one. They used to have key fobs before that banks use.
Hmm.
Now the authenticator on your phone is good enough because nowadays losing your wallet is bad, but losing your phone is even worse because
Hmm.
everything is in your phone, right? A lot of
Hmm.
data, and you can pay with your phone. You can't speak with your wallet, so phone is more important, I guess.
Yeah. Here's another like a super old school way, but there are
Sure.
some, I can't say this about everybody that I work with, but certain places, for lack of a better word, they never call you. They never email you. So like what's a good example? Classic one targeting, senior citizens, Social Security. This
Oh yeah.
was, I don't know if this is still happening. You get a call from Social Security, your account's been whatever it is,
Hmm.
and the insight there is they're never going to call you. They don't call ever. Maybe they get a letter, but they don't. So knowing the
Yep.
behavior of like my bank is Chase Bank. I know when they email me. I know when they
Mhm.
contact me. They don't call. So if you get a call from Chase Bank, you already know. So it's more
Right.
work, but
Right.
understanding the preferred contact methods and behaviors of those who you deal with can already trip you off. So if you get an email from your bank and you go, we've never gotten one before. There it is. We should probably call
Correct.
them. Did you send this? Want to check out that it's real. So old school, but yeah.
Very, very good thing. Yes, because there's a lot of scam going on. Like you said, Social
Yeah.
Security,
I'm
IRS is
getting I'm
calling
getting
you,
3 or 4
FBI
emails a
is calling
month
you.
about
Mhm.
QuickBooks. Here's a document or here's an invoice. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is true. That
Yeah.
is true. Right.
All right.
So
So you've
that's like
scared the
the first
crap out of
one.
us successfully. So I guess keep going, or how do we get to the point where we can slow our heart
Uh,
rate back down?
all right. Okay. No, no, we will go to some old school methods. So now moving on, let's go to the next topic because, like we talk about AI fraud and phishing, there's a new things that are invented. So let's move on from that.
Mhm.
We'll talk about the evolving cybersecurity landscape, right? Uh, I think we mentioned it in one of our old talks that, people were stealing credit card data. It was useful. Medical data is more valuable.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's
We've
a
talked about
thing
that.
many years ago, right? Uh, credit card data is, let's say, worth $1. A medical data for the same person is worth 50 times that,
Hmm.
$50. That's
Hmm.
how they kind of did that. So, a medical record is worth significantly more on the dark web than a credit card because it contains a lot of permanent data like your social security, medical history that cannot be changed or canceled. You can't update. You
Hmm.
can change your driver's license. I don't think you can change your medical history or social security or your
You
date of
cannot.
birth, right? You can change your name, but so that's why it's really, really valuable. That's why PHI, patient health information, is sacrosanct. That's why HIPAA is important. I think HIPAA should be important on everybody's side because right
Hmm.
now they only make us as RCM companies and the practices as covered entities that you are in charge of protecting the data, which is great. But the patient whose data it is, they don't really care. They can keep their name and throw it on the road and
Right. You, the patient, can
and
say whatever you want
correct.
to whoever you want, whether it's smart or
Yes,
not.
correct. Yes, that's the point. I think everybody should be in charge and they should keep it right. Even the patient whose
Yeah.
information it is, many times they are not as serious because they don't understand the ramifications. So that's the
Hmm.
main thing, the evolving cybersecurity landscape. So PHI we know is very important. So it is a target for cyber criminals for sure, right?
Hmm.
The other ones that hackers have realized that RCM or your billing system, EMR, practice management system is really, really ineffective because I don't have to steal one data. Now I have everything. I have the whole data flow. And also, I don't even have to steal your data. let's say I get into your practice management and I just encrypt it and hold it for ransom. Your cash flow stops, your practice kind of dies, and you don't have a choice. That you're choking the provider basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very, very important. And the
Damn.
same point is, so, we've just established that PHI is very important. And now your practice management is really important. So you want to work with big companies that have, because even a big company like Change Healthcare, which is owned by Optum, which is owned by United Healthcare, had a big breach. I don't know how much you know about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, right.
A few clients out here. Yeah.
Right. So they were
I got the
trusting
7-page letters about here's 12 months of complimentary because we
exactly.
created
Okay.
the mess, and here's how you can protect yourself now, even though it's too late. Oh
So
yeah.
it hurt a lot of people. It hurt a lot of people, especially practices, also RCM companies. At one time, a little over 35% of all claims were going through Change Healthcare.
Mhm.
And that affected obviously so many providers, right? So just something like that. But similarly, that was a clearinghouse, Change Healthcare, but the same thing can happen in your practice management system. So
Yeah.
you always want to make sure that you have business associate agreements. You make sure that the data is secure with everybody you work with, not only the EMR practice management, but the clearinghouse or any third party APIs that you kind of connect with. That's very, very important. Having
Mhm.
said that, the same thing, companies like us, so for example, a provider always has medical malpractice because that's what they need from their
Mhm.
point. Similarly, for us, two things are very important. Obviously, general liability, or we call E&O, right? As an omission, professional
Mhm.
liability, very important. In the last, I would say, about 7 to 8 years, we have cybersecurity insurance, and that has also
Same.
evolved because they didn't know how to insure for it because it was new. They didn't know, and now it's getting more and more expensive because they're understanding more,
There's
and
more and
people
more
are actually
claims.
fine.
Yeah.
Yes, there are a lot of companies that are not even insuring, either practices or revenue cycle companies, saying, hey, you're from PHI. There are only a few companies left that actually understand and actually insure us, right? There was Hiscox, there was Chubb. Chubb kind of got out of it mostly, unless you're like a really, really big client, maybe like a Mount Sinai, they might talk to you, but they've
Mhm.
kind of got into out of the small game. There's a company called Collision that does it. So there are a couple of companies left that do cybersecurity. So I think the cybersecurity insurance is very important. Um, for a practice, I think it is important. But let's say you work with a revenue cycle company, RCM company is very important. You ask them what kind of policies and procedures they have in place, because there's a lot of things like
Yeah.
HIPAA has a set of rules that you have to do. There's administrative safeguards, there's security safeguard, physical safeguards. So, and then you have different certifications. We have SOC 2, Type 2, we have
Mhm.
ISO kind of standards. So a lot of things are there that help protect you, right? You can't protect against everything, right, Carl? So, but you do your best to do as much as you
But you
can. That
insure on
make
the back end. Yeah. I mean, I will say we're a healthcare marketing agency. We're also a HIPAA compliant healthcare marketing agency. Um, we've got the insurance, the BAs in place, and practice owners, no matter who you're working with. RCM is obvious. Marketing, I found, is not obvious, but it's just sort of a blind spot. Maybe there are other ones. Either you give them a BAA or they sign yours. I actually had somebody say to me once, this wasn't a practice owner, I forget who it was. They said, well, we're HIPAA insured. What do you mean by that? We have a lot of insurance. Well, you're as non-compliant and illegal as if you had zero insurance. So
yeah,
good luck with all that. But
yeah.
but don't let that doesn't count. That doesn't
Great
count.
point.
You could
Great
have 10
point.
million of cyber. If there's no BAA, you're as illegal. It just means that you have more money to pay the fines that are coming your way through your insurance than if you don't. So yes.
Great point. Because you mentioned that, we'll jump to another topic, come back.
Yeah.
So when you have your cybersecurity and other insurance, there are key things that you have to have from your side. If not, they do not, the claim is invalid.
Oh, there you go.
Not having a BA is one of them.
Yeah.
Not having
If I ever
encryption is
talk to
one
the
of
guy,
them.
I'm going to tell him like, well, good for you, but they're not going to pay a penny because
Exactly.
HIPAA
I
insured
mean,
mean nothing. Maybe you get
that
a
exactly.
chuckle out of the adjuster before they say denied, but
Pretty much,
yeah,
pretty much. Because
yeah,
if you, I mean, they're insured, provided you do A, B, and C. It's like saying I have renter's insurance, I leave my door open. That doesn't count. They don't cover
yeah,
your.
yeah.
Now you can't say my house got
Robbers
stolen. On
welcome here. Yeah, exactly.
exactly, or you leave your car on the road with the keys in it, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work
We
like
don't
that,
insure
right?
against stupidity. Yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah,
because of that, let me just jump to the other topic we have, building a redundancy plan, because we
yeah.
talked about
So
insurance and stuff.
some of the things you can do, like cybersecurity, good insurance, so redundancy
Correct.
plan. Yeah.
Right. So we are kind of already jumped into that. So let me do that. Right.
Hmm.
So a couple of redundancy plan. One is you have to have a backup, right? You have a PM system, you have some stuff. Sometimes old school paper is good, but with HIPAA, it gets a little complicated. So I'm not a big fan of paper, but we have an offsite location where this whole thing is copied. So let's say our main system is unfortunately hacked and held for ransom,
Hmm.
right? Every day I have a backup, so I might lose days
A
of
day's
data.
worth. Yeah.
It's not that bad,
Hmm.
right? Before you used to do weekly. As we got bigger, it's more daily. So we have an offsite location that is in the cloud, so we can get it, and it's kind of different location. One's in the East Coast, one's in the West Coast, kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
hopefully they both don't get attacked at the same time, and kind of different companies. So I
Yep.
have one with AWS and one with Azure, let's say. So hopefully
There you
Microsoft and
go.
Amazon don't go down at the same time, right?
It
There's only so much you can do.
would take a lot to do that. I take your
Correct, right?
point.
And they're
Yeah.
expensive too. So that's one option, right? So
Hmm.
you need we call it a redundancy plan or business continuity plan. So it could be for a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Simple things, leave AI for a second, but it could just be for natural disasters. So you had an earthquake or, you had a flooding or something, even for those. But we are talking mostly about hacking, cybersecurity, anything AI kind of related where it becomes a problem, right?
Out of curiosity,
Yeah.
does having the backups help with the insurance premiums? They go, oh,
Yes,
good.
it
Okay.
definitely does. So
Yeah.
when you do your HIPAA list of security or risk analysis, as they call it,
Hmm.
having your business continuity plan is disaster contingency plan. They're all part of it.
Yeah.
You not only tell them that, yeah, I've thought about this. Okay, what are you doing for it?
Hmm.
And do you have option A, option B, and big
Because you've
based
lowered your
on
risk to them, so the premium comes down
correct.
accordingly. Got it.
Correct. They
Yep.
want. So that's a part of the things. You
Okay.
can't say I don't have it. So that's very important.
Yeah.
The other one is sometimes vendor diversification. I'm just going back to the Change Healthcare. So what happened is a lot of practices, and it's not their fault. They have an EMR practice management system. Usually, that practice management is linked to one clearinghouse, like Change Healthcare.
Hmm.
Now, after that whole incident, everybody's giving you options. It's not like you're going to use two at the same time, but the switch is easy. If something goes down, it doesn't have to take 3 weeks, six
Yeah.
weeks like they did before. Now we're
God.
talking 2 days. So
Hmm.
it's linked to both. Now you could submit claims from tomorrow to, let's
Yeah.
say, a Trizedo or eTactics or a Waystar or whatever the clearinghouse. So having a couple of vendors like that is an option.
Mm.
And we've also seen, like when we work with big practices or we work with some tech companies, they diversify and have two vendors. They work with
Hmm.
us and they might work with somebody else, right?
Hmm.
Or we have some big practices, they have a small in-house team and they work with us just in case. Let's say something happens to them, we can take care of something happens to us for 2, 3 days. Like
Yeah.
I said, an earthquake or something. We have
Yeah.
some business continuity, but it still takes time. Nothing is in 2 minutes.
Correct.
So it's always good to have some
Yeah.
diversification. And the other one is like a fire drill, right? Why do they do fire drills? Because you put it in writing, that's great.
Hmm.
But if something happens in real life, are you really prepared? Or it's like, hey, I have it writing, that's great. Have you
Yeah.
tested it?
Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah.
So we try to do it at least quarterly. We do some kind of testing. Our IT kind of scares the
So you
people saying that's just
simulate a
kind of
disaster or a problem.
different
Yeah.
levels. Sometimes it's level one, sometimes level
Fair
three,
enough.
like 2, 3 levels. And we
Hmm.
don't want to scare them all the time, but some little things so we know, okay, who should you contact?
Hmm.
If this happens, you're not able to log into your computer. Okay, that's a small one. That's one employee problem. But let's say the whole team is not able to log in. Now, who do you contact? Okay, this is your IT head.
Hmm.
Do you know who is your privacy officer? Do you know who is your security officer? What steps are you going to take to do that?
Hmm.
Let's say
Hmm.
there's really a breach. What are you going to do?
Hmm.
And you leak more than so much information. Do you know who your attorney is? Because
Yeah.
that's the first person you want. Do you know where the insurance is, who your insurance provider is, and where is it stored? Who are you going to call? And there are a lot of things like that. So
What's forming in my mind is like a trigger for me is, let's say a pipe burst in your house. It's the first thing you're going to do.
yep,
You turn the water off. Do you know where the water is? The number one
perfect.
thing, where's the water valve? So the water main, so I can turn it off. So this is kind of that's the analogy in my head. It's like, all right, disaster happens. Nobody's obviously looking for it. It's by definition a surprise. What's step one? Like, how do we trigger? And everybody should know what their step one is, because then probably after that, now I'm remembering. Okay, so now we can
Correct.
make this
Correct.
orderly. Yeah.
Yeah. because writing it is great. Sometimes people write it because
You
it's
got to
needed and you
practice
have to
it.
write it for insurance. But if you don't do it, then you forget. Then you do it once a year and you forget. You don't want that, right? So we have because we have a few certifications called, we have to go through this once a year for sure. Plus
Okay.
every quarter they at least check. And we have third party come and do something called a vulnerability and penetration assessment and penetration testing. It's called VAPT.
Hmm.
They come and see if you have any ports open. Can they hack? So it's more like ethical hacking, but
Hmm.
they give you a report saying, hey, you're good in 90% of the time. These 10 can do improvements. I think you should fix this patch. You should do this, do that. So that's
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
I think you you can't do it internally because you
Yeah.
need some third party to look at it from
Yeah.
outside and see, hey, is there some vulnerability in your systems? So a lot of things like that can be done for redundancy, for prevention, things like that. So AI is scary. People are using it for bad things, but you can do as much as you can because think like this, it's a numbers game.
Hmm.
They're going to attack 10 practices.
Hmm.
If yours is a little strong, they're like, "Ah, it's not worth the time. Let me move on to the next one." That's what you
It's
want.
a volume game. They're going for the,
Correct.
you
Because
know,
unless it's really like your ex-wife or husband and they're going to target you, that's a different story. I can't
well,
help you
yeah, or
there.
just somebody's
But
got an axe to grind. Fair enough.
correct.
That's, double
That's a
lock the
different story.
doors.
But
Yeah.
99% of the time, you're one of their numbers. And if you're not worth the time, they're going to move on. And that's what you want.
It's like it's like buying insurance. It's people, there's this love-hate relationship. I don't know if it's love, but there's certainly something positive emotion, hate relationship because insurance is this thing you pay for that you hope to God you never use. But you do it
100%.
because, and why is it there? Because if you have to use it, something calamitous happened and you need help and you need some
Absolutely.
expertise and you need a checkbook to help you out,
100%.
you know?
100%, Carl. Because we are not a United Healthcare or a Change Healthcare. If something
Yeah.
like that happens, you're out of business. Your
Yeah.
name is tarnished, and just the fines and stuff, the
Yeah.
government and paying, that's it. It's kind of over, and
I
you're out
remember
of
one
business.
client,
So
like it took them a while just so then change is sort of coming back on and the claims process begins. It even took them a while to figure out how much business did we lose because of this? It's slow, right? But that's your
yep,
money. And so um, change is an extreme example because it was thrust upon all of their
correct.
customers. But yeah, it's just insurance, it's like you have disability insurance. Are you hoping that you fall off your roof so you can make a claim and feel like you got your money's worth? Of course not. Of course
No,
not. But you
no,
put these things in place because in case.
100%.
Yeah.
Many of these insurances, the whole thing is just in case.
You hope to God you never use it,
Yeah,
you
pretty
know?
much. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to file that claim, at least not
Nobody
normal
wants the
people.
event. I have umbrella insurance on my home. Do I want to get robbed just so I can make a claim? And of course not. Of
No,
course
hell
not.
no.
Yeah,
Hell no.
of course
That's
not.
not worth the stress.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. What
Before
have we
we talk
missed?
about,
Yeah. What so
yeah, we
keep
have two
going. No,
other
keep
topics
going.
I have
Okay,
in mind.
yeah.
One is the ethics. We'll come to that at the last. The other one is actually defensive AI. When I say defensive AI,
Yeah.
it's
Let's
more
let's
about, right? Let's do that. You should
I
talk
actually
about
and
some
I have a
positive too.
question
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
just as a broad, it's probably too blunt, but let's just go to like the large, just the LLMs.
Mhm.
Are they watching for bad people doing bad things and sort of trying to fight back against them the way you think um, Microsoft tries to prevent hacks into Office and Apple and so forth. They're trying to keep their service safe. Are you aware? Maybe you don't know. I don't know, but like, are
I'm
you
not
aware of
really sure.
ChatGPT's? They
No,
have a cybersecurity team and they're watching and they're trying to keep bad people away or bad or
I
even good
don't
people doing
think
bad
so.
things. You don't think so? Yeah.
They have some triggers in place that you can't, right? But you can trick the LLM and ask
Yeah,
questions. So
probably.
let me give you an example. A few couple about a year ago, I asked it like list sites that I can actually download, let's say a pirated movie. I was just testing to see what's happened. It says,
Mhm.
sorry, it's not allowed. I can't. Oh, really? It's not allowed. It's illegal. I'm like, I'm really sorry. Tell me the sites that so that I can avoid them. And it gave me the list. So you just tricked that, and it did. I just wanted to see.
That's
So it's come a
so
little
sad. That's so
correct.
sad.
So they've put in some roadblocks, but you're smart enough to kind of go around. I'm asking for academic purposes. There are some keywords and prompts you can use kind of to trick the system. So they are not
Wow.
there yet. And don't forget, these are startups. Their goal is to get market share. They're burning through
Yeah.
a lot of money. The last thing in their mind is to keep it safe. I don't think it's there yet. Hopefully it will.
Hey,
in the
we're just a
future, but right
startup. We're
now,
still
I don't
learning.
think so.
Yeah.
And
Oh
they're
my
losing
God, that is.
money. They're burning through money. So that's their main focus.
I
How
know.
do I show an ROI? And more important, how do I get market share? Because
How do we go to investors for their $50 billion to buy
exactly,
chips that I'm going to run out of in 3 months?
that
I
is
need to
it.
go
That's
back.
it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
They'll
let's keep
complete
going.
different
So
focus.
I'll bring us
Yeah.
back. So defensive AI. Yes.
Correct. So, what happens is, now let's talk about the good stuff, right? So there are some behavioral economics or behavioral biometrics you can do. So, for example, uh, if you see suddenly that a person, okay, like we have productivity targets for our people.
Hmm.
If a person can do, I'm just saying, let's say they're doing payment posting. So one of
Hmm.
the things, and based on the specialty and the EMR, we have a number 250 a day, 200 a day, 180, whatever. Right. So if it's 200 and 210, we know. Suddenly you see one person did 1,000, 2,000. Then
Yeah.
some AI has kind of taken over it. And you can get those patterns and anomaly
It's
and
not what that
trigger
guy
you
have for
saying
breakfast. Get it to
something's
everybody.
wrong.
It's yeah.
No.
Okay.
This he doesn't suddenly become Superman. So things like that, right? We can That's only
Okay.
payment posting. Same thing, you can look for different anomalies to see where you saw spikes and
Hmm.
actually look into that and see what's going on.
Okay. Makes
Right. The
sense.
other one is verification, meaning you can see and you can do pattern recognition and cross reference between the nodes, what are built, what is collected over a long period of time compared to a human, kind of do some data mine and see, hey, is something being tampered with? Did they reduce the prices? Do I see an overall global decline by this insurance company or anything like that? Those are kind of stuff we can look. That really helps.
Okay.
Also, we can look and see if you got logins from
Mm-hmm.
like a practice, where you're logging from, especially when you have remote workers. These are your IPs or something. Suddenly you see a new IP coming, or suddenly you see a lot of different CPT codes, and somebody is trying to like push claims into your system or something that you didn't. Anything like that, you can set up AI to kind of trigger you. So a
Makes
lot of
sense.
triggers that AI can do in
Hmm.
terms of regular volume, right? There's a baseline.
Okay.
For example, your practice, you submit 200,000 in charges, you collect 150,000 in payments, you have it offered. It goes up a little down. It always, but
Hmm.
suddenly instead of 200,000, if somebody submitted 2 million in charges or a million,
Problem.
something's off. What happened? Did you just add 10 new providers?
Hmm.
Or
Right.
what is going on?
What's going
Anything
on?
like that. So you put in baseline to like the minimum and the maximum. Anything
Hmm.
that touches, at least you're alerted, so you can go and look as a human. Because
Hmm.
with anytime AI, you want human in the loop.
Hmm.
Without that, it's going to break down, right?
Got it.
Even for example, when we do AI voice or autonomous coding, we always do random checks. And when we
Hmm.
start, we check everything, because AI might get you good answers, but till I look at it and see, is that complete? Is that only partial good answer? Is it missing something?
Hmm.
Or does it hallucinate and give you wrong information? So, we're not there yet to trust AI 100%.
Yeah.
Even when you make AI write an email, it's getting better than it was like a year and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
These are getting better. We can see the
Yeah.
amount of hallucination is much minimum, but it's not gone
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So you can't just copy, paste, and send it to somebody, a client, right? You want to read it. You want to first make sure that there's no mistake. More important, it should look like a human. You
Hmm.
can use that for your help, but you can't replace you and just send it without reading. That spoils everything. So
Yeah.
AI can help with a lot of defensive stuff. So both in terms of RCM and in the practice, you can set up a lot of different ones. Same with patient payments or any triggers you want if somebody is really late to pay. All these can be monitored instead of going and looking at it. Some of them are just alerts. Some of them the AI can actually actively look and so. And a lot of these EMR practice management systems are adding AI modules to make it more efficient,
Okay.
even pushing out work and also looking at all. So
Yeah.
I would think the good
It makes
thing.
me think of like you monitor your employees'
Yeah,
behavior and performance. So same. Got to keep doing it. Can't stop
correct,
doing that.
correct.
Okay.
And I think the last topic we had on I mean, we can talk a lot more, but
Sure.
at the ethics of AI. Now that's a little, I mean, we're
Insecurity.
not
Yeah.
legal. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like how
Morely the
much can you
ethics,
monitor and yeah.
correct. Correct. So, a company first is as RCM companies, when we use a little AI, we let the clients know, but many times our practices are not really sure what AI means. What are you using it for? How does it affect us? And and the practice also needs to understand, okay, they have to decide how much they should disclose to the patient about saying, hey, AI is watching the data. and you have to maintain that balance between privacy and the need for high-tech surveillance like AI to keep the data safe from everything we just talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want AI on our side, not from the bad actors' side looking
Mm-hmm.
in. You would rather we use it to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if there's another AI coming in, this AI can talk to that AI, or at least warn us that something's happening, right? So you want AI on your side, but how much? How much do we tell the
And
patient?
just
What
to
do we
like
tell them?
ask like the counter. So just you tell patients that among other things, AI can sort of see your data. I mean, does it matter? This is maybe a naive question, but like just to push it, today, all sorts of people can see my data.
Right?
And so can
Right?
the software that's housing it. Um,
Correct.
adding AI, like what's that? What's the big deal? I mean, it almost sounds, I feel like
It
there's
is
something
not,
naive.
don't forget, we're not attorneys. From an attorney,
Yeah.
legal, liability
Yeah.
things, you have to put it in your, let's say, the
Hmm.
privacy policies that you sign when you're a patient, the notices that the
Yeah.
practice gives you. I am feeling there's going to be a couple of paragraphs in that saying it can be used, and you're giving them permission, just
Hmm.
like you give the other permissions, like they can use your PHI and work with a company like us because we
Yeah.
signed the BA. So a lot of policies and privacy. This is more a legal thing. Like I said, Carl, neither you or me are attorneys, so we're
Yeah,
not
that's
going into
true.
the legal aspect. Also, it's really new, right? Europe usually starts the way they make the data rules, and then it trickles down to the US and other parts of the world. And then we decide how strict or not strict we want it.
Right.
That's usually how it is.
Yeah.
So this is still evolving as we speak, and it is going. But there are a few other things too. A few years ago, when like the ChatGPT was coming on and the others were just in nascent. So AI started picking up on patterns and it started making some racist recommendations and stuff. I'm sure you've heard about it in
Hmm.
Amazon, like, things like that.
Hmm.
So that is also there. When what happens is, as we're using AI, it might overlearn some patterns and start flagging legitimate claims as
Hmm.
suspicious, or
Hmm.
it's like false positives and things like that. That's also something we have to keep in mind.
Hmm.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's again,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's well, we just made a scary world scarier. Thanks.
No,
Anything we miss? I mean, we hit a lot.
no, no.
I mean,
I think like we covered most of it. Obviously, this topic is evolving. I do not claim to be an expert. I was
yeah.
pretty much sharing the opinion I've seen. And again, like I said, legal world is still catching up with AI. The government is still not even close to catching up with AI because
Hmm.
it's every day it's a new thing. And there are some better ones. So everybody kind of heard of ChatGPT, right? Then you've heard of maybe Llama, Claude, but there are newer ones like with agentic AI. So, for example, ChatGPT is more a conversational.
Hmm.
You ask it questions, it gives you stuff. You can do some images. You can go and maybe create some PowerPoint. Maybe you can do some videos. But there are others that actually do your work.
Hmm.
There are some like Claude has a option that does one.
Hmm.
There's one called OpenClaw. There's one called Manus, and I've
Hmm.
played with all of them.
Hmm.
You have to give it prompts. But
Hmm.
if I tell it, this is the proposal, this is what I want you to do, I tell it to do, and I can do something else, and it gets back to me in 10, 15 minutes.
Hmm.
And it's great. It's very
Hmm.
efficient. It's great. But again, like I said, human in the loop. You can't just take it and send it to somebody. You still need to look at it and make sure it's good. But it's very, very efficient. So right now I'm seeing AI really make our work really efficient, but I don't think it's there yet to replace us yet, unless you're doing literally very basic stuff like copy pasting or sending an email.
Yeah.
Maybe yes, but if your job involves talking to people,
Yeah.
making decisions that are complex, and anything
Yeah.
like that, then I
And
think
there's
we're good for
still,
a few years.
you hit it. You've still got to monitor, just like you would a person. I mean,
Yes.
if you say, well, our AI does that, and then you don't watch it or you don't check its accuracy, it's not a, it's not a static process algorithmic thing with steps 1 through 7. It does the same thing every time where you can easily check it. You have to keep an eye on it. I mean,
Uh,
you set it and forget it at your own risk, you
yeah.
know, at your own
Yeah.
risk. Okay.
Yeah, Carl, I
Um,
think we covered a lot.
yeah.
Anything else? Anything
I
else? Any
mean,
other questions?
if somebody's, let's say, classic setup, we caught somebody's attention, you have successfully freaked out a listener about, holy crap, where should they start to sort of push back against we've got to make sure we're protected, make sure we can, where would you where would you say they start? Simple place to
Great,
start.
great. Okay, couple of things. One is, let's say you're a practice, because most of our audience here is a practice. So
Mm-hmm.
we can start, if you have an attorney, you can talk to them. Hopefully
Mm-hmm.
you have a healthcare attorney who knows something. If
Mm-hmm.
they don't do this, at least they point you the right direction. That's one option. The other one is, if you have a billing company that helps you, you can ask them. Any other vendor.
Mm-hmm.
Your EMR practice management, usually they don't get involved in this, but
What about your
if you have a
IT?
good relationship,
What about your
yes,
IT
your
company?
IT, yeah, your
Yeah.
IT people possibly. But I
Yeah.
think your revenue cycle company may know a little more. But yes, your IT company is
For
definitely,
RCM,
definitely
absolutely. Yeah.
correct. But first is, do you have the HIPAA compliance that you actually need? Are you following the procedures? Some of the things you should already have, right? Do you have an E&O insurance or a cybersecurity? I know you have med malpractice, because you, as a practice, you need to. But there are a few other things you may or may not have. So start with that
Mm-hmm.
and talk to one or two people. Maybe your office manager knows something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first is, after hearing this, not to get scared, but say, okay, what do we have in place to protect us?
Yeah.
And go from there.
And go from there. Yeah. And
And
build.
that's
Very
what it's
good.
done.
Very good. Vinny, once again, thanks for coming on Practice Care, opening our eyes, in this case, freaking us out a bit, but productive way. So I appreciate it. Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, and for anybody who's listen to any other episode, that the contact info for Vinny is in the show notes for this episode. So you want to talk to him, it's another way to get a hold of him. 2 quick points before we wrap up. First, subscribe to Practice Care if you have not. We do a new episode every week, 4 years and counting, a couple hundred episodes out there. But the easiest way to stay up to date with new episodes is to subscribe. So please do that. And secondly, if you are like Vinny or us and you serve private practice owners, or you're one yourself, and you've got some experience on the business side of private practice, and don't overthink what that is. Something you could think is really obvious and stupid and boring, others are going to think are really struggling with it. So if you've got any of that, we want you to come on Practice Care and tell the world about it. In the show notes for every episode is a link, couple of clicks, take you a second, tell us what's on your mind, and we'll get you scheduled as soon as possible. Thanks very much, and until next time.